Welcome back to Grand Prix World and our coverage of qualifying for Monaco Season 3. I do apologise that I've been away quite a while. It's been totally mental for the last week, both at work and at home, so it hasn't really provided an opportune time to get this recorded for you. I'm doing a lot of videos today, I hope, including some new stuff that we haven't actually discussed before, but hopefully is interesting for you. And as you can probably tell, the new microphone still hasn't arrived, so we're stuck. That awkward pause there was the game crashing, so at least we got that out of the way early. We have a lot to do. First of all, it's very unfortunate, but the B spec of our chassis will not be ready for round 6. We just aren't quite there yet. We're also well behind with next year's car, so I've decided to really switch focus onto that because we've got 10 rounds now to develop and build 2 cars. And I'm kind of not particularly convinced that the 2001 car is going to be very good at the moment. Let's see. We've got some new technology to deploy. What was that on? That was on reliability. Maybe it's worth doing that. And then obviously we've got some construction to get done. I am tempted to build a new car, but we'll see. On the engine front, spec 4A is still the best spec, which is an aero-specific one. I think that's going to be standing us in fairly good stead for Monaco. A little bit more responsiveness will be good, but it is a very light engine at least. We have no new compounds of tyres and no new lubricant or fuel compounds either. Sorry, I'm just refamiliarizing myself with our current conditions. Okay, so what next? Just a moment. So I took a moment to think that over, and let's see how difficult it is to build a new car. 43% of our production. And how many spare parts would that allow for? 2 safely. I don't know. We could build 5 spare parts or 2 in a new car. I mean, obviously, financially, it makes sense to go for the spare parts, but then we're still going to have chassis that we can't use. I thought I'd made a decision, but I haven't, so we'll head back over to sponsors and make sure that everything's right there. We're still chasing HSBC and PIAA, who we really want both of them, actually. We're going to be on a partner Bridgestone deal, it seems, and obviously we're still working hard towards a one-season works deal with Peugeot, as the Ford deal was stolen from us. Let's see who we're bringing along. I think they're the right people to have with us. PIA are offering more money than HSBC, so I think that's the right thing to do. Maximum spending, of course, because it's a big ticket event. And of course we want the guarantee of that 18.54 million, which is going to not only safeguard the team, but it's going to enable us to develop way beyond the capacity that we would otherwise have. Deniz is still unhappy. Hopefully we can resolve that. The problem is that because we're running this race live, as it were, that tends to disadvantage us for some reason. We seem to have a lot more reliability and a greater propensity for accidents. Do you know, I should have checked comments before I started on this, but I do remember there were some questions. I think it was Elias, long-term friend of the show, as it were. Hope you're doing well. He was just asking for a refresher on the difference between a partner and a works deal, and I gave some thought to it actually about how I could describe it in context to modern Formula One. And I think the best way to look at it would be that, for example, Renault have just come back as a works deal. Today, works means it's different to how Works was in the time this game is set. Previously, a Works team was simply the sole focus of, or the primary focus of a particular supplier, to the extent that the car very heavily carried the branding, and you got a lot of financial support as well as technical support. A good example, I suppose, would be I guess you could argue that Red Bull were the Works Renault team for quite a while, but I don't think that's necessarily the case. Actually, now I vocalize it. I mean, a good example, I suppose, would be obviously Ferrari. Ferrari is a Works Ferrari team, but again, it falls into that trap of the manufacturer of the engine also being the owner of the team, which was not always the case. In game terms, at least, I think that's probably easier to clarify. In game terms, it simply means that you get all the benefits of a partner deal, which is the engines are provided to you free of charge, and usually you get some kind of guarantee of at least a minimal number of upgrades. In the Works deal, what you get is, in addition to that, you get a significant financial contribution from the supplier, and often you can negotiate to control the direction of R&D, so they will develop specifications of engine just for you. The rules actually ban that now. I think that's probably why these days you don't see traditional Works outfits. McLaren Mercedes were a Works Mercedes team until the actual Mercedes team re-entered F1. So I guess that was an example from reasonably recent history. What you tend to see now is customers or partners for the most part. Even McLaren Honda, I suppose you would consider a partner deal rather than a Works deal, because I don't believe Honda are paying anything to McLaren for use of the engine. I think they're in a technical partnership, so they're developing it together, but there's benefits and drawbacks for both sides, rather than a Works deal which arguably benefits the team greater than it benefits the supplier, at least in practical terms. I hope that kind of answered the question. I hope I also read correctly what it is you were inquiring about. But basically, as with anything in this game, the decision between taking a Works and a partner deal is usually a no-brainer. You want a Works deal. You see here, this Peugeot Works deal is worth 11 million to us, whereas a partner gives us 0 cash. But the reason that occasionally in the past we have actively sought out partner deals is that the extra time you spend trying to complete this deal can be fruitless. You've got to sort of gauge how well negotiations are progressing. And if you think it's going to take too much time, or you're at greater risk of having that deal stolen from you, the same way that the Ford deal was stolen from us, then it's better to accept early that you're going to be seeking a partner deal, and there's disadvantages to doing that, but there's an opportunity saving. People often talk about opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is the idea that if you are doing A, then that's at the expense of doing B, and that's a very simplistic way of looking at it. But you can't go upstairs and downstairs at the same time, if that makes sense. You make a decision at the expense of doing the opposite, and how you value opportunity and opportunity cost is by taking step one in a particular direction, what then becomes the step 2 and step 3. So when we decide to make the decision to pursue a partner deal at the opportunity cost of a Works deal, what we're saying is we believe that by signing a partner deal, steps 2 and 3 then become signing other cash sponsors or quicker development on other deals that are more likely to give a favourable outcome. So I think this game actually is a very good way of demonstrating opportunity cost. I think it teaches it very, very well. And speaking of opportunity cost, we're going for a partner deal here rather than attempting to switch to Goodyear and chasing a possible Works deal, because we're already halfway signed, and that's 25% of our staff that we could then use for something else. I think 6 rounds in, it's probably too late to try and negotiate that Works Goodyear deal. So why waste our time? when we can gain maximum benefit out of what's available here. It's also actually that, particularly with regard to engine, we are not forming strong relationships. It's something we're going to have to address, because we have changed engine supplier every season so far. We went from Hart to Mugen Honda to now Ferrari Power, and now we're switching to Peugeot because it's easier for us to sign, and we've got less competition. We could be chasing Ferrari and trying to secure a longer deal there, but we wouldn't get it, I imagine. The fact that we were not able to draw any of their representatives to our races means we were at a disadvantage to everyone else negotiating with them. And once those works deals are gone, then all the time we've poured in there is a waste. Here we're very much in control, and while Peugeot might not necessarily be the best engine for us for reason X or reason Y, if we can develop the engine in-house, if we can take control of that, then that is a deficiency that we can negate. It's in our own hands to fix it rather than relying on the supplier doing the right thing. And we're guaranteed that 11 million. So all these decisions are, we've changed suppliers, but the decisions have been based on good reasoning. And what we really need to do going forward is sort of identify good partners. It seems that we have a great affinity with Red Bull, even though everyone else here gives you more money. We have a very, very, very good relationship with Red Bull, and the fact that we've got a 3-season deal is going to really help us out. But we have to maintain that relationship. It's not normally I would advocate for enjoying that 3-season deal and using your staff to grab as much else as you can, and that is overall the aim. But what we shouldn't do is neglect this relationship too much, because that's easy money. That is easy 18 million. So I don't think it's wise or smart to go chasing elsewhere when we have a very good affinity with a partner, and we need that in the engine front. What we need is to find a partner who's going to give us a works deal for the minimum resistance. And unfortunately at the moment it's not going to be anyone other than Peugeot this season. I'm really hoping that Toyota or Renault or BMW enter in the next few rounds, and then we've got a potential works partner that we can snap up and be the team that they pioneer their involvement in the sport with. Those 3 suppliers can enter, by the way, same as Michelin can join on the tyres. Okay, back to business. I think we're going to go for the spare parts. And what we need to do is, we're going to have to test, of course. That's important. And then we should have enough points left over from construction to repair the... How much is this technology cost? 25. That leaves us with 3 spare parts. That's not enough. That is not enough. Because I don't want to be let down by reliability, I mean, we've got a reliability upgrade ready to go. I don't want a failure on the car because we were too short-sighted, but at the same time, I don't want to run this race with damage or wear, so spare parts is going to be, but first let's do some testing. How expensive is testing here? Not actually that bad. Okay, so we'll run maximum testing. And I'm using a few too many of my mechanics. I'm not totally thrilled about that. But we don't have a test driver available. So what we need to do is, we'll split it that way, and it's irritating that we can't run Carl. Actually, no, we could. We could. I just build 1 spare part now. And which car's he in? Car 2. So we'll knock the wear off car 2. There we go, that's better bang for our buck, isn't it? And again, we're focusing very much on developing the engine. Okay, let's blast that. And we've got some tyre and engine points to spend. We will go for a new specification of Ferrari engine. I want a bit more fuel economy, to be honest. Are we going to do anything with these tyre compounds? I don't know, they all look really quite good, to be honest. I mean, apart from the soft, which ideally I'd like to improve, but we can't improve, we can only redeploy points. Maybe if we get another compound we can do something, so I'll save those points. And obviously we're not developing race fuels at the moment. So now we need to get the cars into a good condition, and then we can begin the session. Come on. Nice. Hopefully I've left enough mechanics to get everything in order. And of course, you know, we are at a disadvantage, don't forget, because the big teams brought their upgrade packages to the last round. The more stable of the midfield teams, so I'm guessing like, you know, the Jordans and the Benettons, they're going to be running a B-spec at this race, generally speaking. So we are at a disadvantage. We've discovered level 2 traction control. Have we already got that? We do not. So we want to copy that. Nice. That's that done. Let's see if we can't improve. Is it brakes we've already got? It is, I think. Yeah, let's see if we can't get some active suspension. See if this is legal. No, it's not. So they're using illegal traction control. Hopefully someone else calls them out on it and they get disqualified. That would be the best news possible for us. What I'm thinking of doing is reducing the aggressiveness for Monaco. But actually no, I have to have some faith here. Right. Now what we want is 2 on downforce, 2 on brakes, 1 on speed. I think that's reasonable. Or maybe for Nakano we'll go slightly No, we won't. No, we won't. Okay, so we're on the 4-spec engine. I'm going to put them both on the hard compound because I think the difference is negated somewhat. Yeah, engine 5 is no good, so both on the hard compound. Yeah. Stop doubting yourself, Ben. Just fucking run it. Okay, here we go. Qualifying time, kids. (26 degrees and dry, so that's good news. We are on the dry compound. We do have an aero-specific rain tyre if we need it, at least. So we've got something that we think should be better suited to us. But again, we haven't really tested it, so we don't know. As for predictions, I honestly have no idea how the car's going to be on this track. I think this is probably the hardest round to read, and it's ironic somewhat that it's the one we've chosen to cover this season. Let's just hope we get lucky, eh? Okay, we're going to get bankers in. I'm going to put Deniz out first. I'm going to put some space between. And then we'll get Nakano out. Okay, so both Stewarts are out as well. I don't necessarily class them as a threat, although they have taken a step forward recently, I think it's fair to say. And we're just going to have to hope that we get lucky here. In theory, it should be a track that's friendlier to teams that have a power deficit, but It also depends more, I suppose, on the capabilities of your chassis, and I'm not entirely convinced that the chassis is as strong as we would like. Okay, so Deniz, time to put the boot down. Don't fuck it up. There's a good boy. And let's hope against hope that the car is capable of doing what we're asking it to. Of course, neither of our drivers are particularly the best, although Deniz has come on, to be fair, across the 3 seasons. And he's still someone that I'm open to considering extending his contract, although the chances of him signing for us, given he's been unhappy for 2 seasons, is probably quite small. Nakano seems to... It's hard to read, actually, with all these winding corners, but he did seem to be latching on to the back of the Stewart there for a moment. Right, anyway, here we are. Let's see what Peders puts down on the timing board. Deniz crosses the line on a 1:22.419. I have no idea if that's good at the moment. Riccardo Rosset goes top. And Andrea Montemini as well takes second. Shinji Nakano on a 1:29.953. The hard tyre could have been the wrong choice. It could have been the wrong choice. It's not good that we're behind the Stewarts. It really isn't good, and I don't know why. I don't know why Nakano is so slow. I really don't. I need a drink to think about this. One moment. Got a McLaren out, one of the Prosts. Benetton and both Saubers are out as well. I'm going to go against my usual logic here, and I'm going to put both cars out again as quickly as possible. The reason I'm doing that, as Tyrrell's out as well, actually. The reason I'm doing that is that I believe there was something wrong with those laps, and I'm not prepared to sit at the bottom of the timing boards by such a massive margin, particularly with Nakano. Hill goes top on a 1:22.106. That's interesting. That's actually... It certainly made Deniz's time look less shameful, although it does reflect very well on Rosset and Montemini. Johnny Newhouse takes third, splitting the Stewarts. Okay, this could be the Stewarts have brought an upgrade package. Could be. Where's the Tyrrell plopping? Oh, it's just starting his hot lap. Jordan heading out of the garage there. Both Jordans coming out, actually, nose to tail. Mika Hakkinen puts it on 4th in the Prost. Yeah, okay, it's time for Nakano to make himself useful. Let's wait for these Saubers to come through. Fisichella splits the arrows, as does Johnny Herbert, as Nakano leaves the pits for his second 3-lap run. He better not fuck this up. He better not. I mean, another reason I'm kind of reluctant to do live coverage of Monaco is that it's the single most important round on the calendar for sponsors. Toru Takagi puts it on 9th on a 1:26.453, 3.5 seconds faster than Shinji Nakano, so he's really dropped the ball with that lap. I guess we'll probably put Deniz out as well once Nakano's passed through, so we're not interfering with our own hot lap. Okay, so sending Deniz back out. He is ahead of both the Saubers, but the concern really is from the Prosts and the Stewarts being clear of us at the moment. David Coulthard puts it on pole on the 1:21.465, so he's the first one into the 1:21s, and he's done it by 7/10, so that was a hell of a lap from Coulthard. We have Coulthard gaining on the back of Deniz, actually, which we could do without. Whether the Jordans slot in 4th and 6th, as Marini outqualifies Deniz in the Prost. That's... yeah, we've got serious work to do here. Shinji Nakano up to 10th, so he's in the 122s at least. Still not particularly happy with his lap. I'm hopeful. What do I really want here? I want Deniz ideally in front of Wurz, if at all possible. Rossit's time was fantastic to take third. He's really come alive. And I feel like Deniz has lost some time there, but I couldn't tell you from what. This could be a terrible lap. Maybe I'm just projecting, but it seemed like I missed something in one of the screens there. So when I watch this video back later, I can see how much of an idiot I've been. 43 minutes of the session remain as Deniz comes through. Puts it on 9th, 122.376. So at least he has improved, and he's put it in front of Marini's Prost. But 9th and 11th is not quite what I was hoping for, to be honest with you. Again, though, I mean, our advantage is going to come, I suppose, in race conditions when we've got the longer lasting tyre. And if we are sort of within a tenth or two of most of the cars in front, then it's possible that by saving the pit stop we'd do okay. We've got where are the Williams? Oh my god, Heinz-Harald Frentzen 141.310. That was a terrible lap in the Ferrari. Rubens Barrichello takes 12th. Schumacher puts it on 13th for Williams. Williams' dreadful season just doesn't seem to end. I'm going to do a check on both cars here. Seems that tyre wear's okay. No technical faults reported by either car. What we're going to do now, I suppose, is I'll wait for the track to quieten down before we try run 3, and then run 4 we'll do our usual last minute sprint and hope that the track being in the best possible condition helps us out. It's good to see a lot of teams actually getting their runs in at the start of the session, particularly Stewart and Jordan, and the Tyrrells actually, both cars out once again. The track is quiet now. 39 minutes remaining. I'm not sure if it's a good time or not. I'll put Deniz out on scrubbed tyres. Or Nakano maybe. I'll put Nakano out. He's obviously slower, so we don't really care what he loses, I suppose. So you know, he can sort of be the vanguard, if you will. You know, we'll get him out putting down rubber on the track, sort of adding to that build-up that provides the grip that allows a last-minute flyer. David Coulthard still sits on pole. Rossip moves up again, puts it on second in the Stewart Mercedes, 122.092. He's still not broken into the 121s, and I can only assume that David Coulthard is running a McLaren-specific spec of the engine and possibly tyres as well. Of course, we know they've got work steels on both fronts there. I believe they do, at least. So currently your top 3 are David Coulthard McLaren 121.465 ahead of Ricardo Rossi in the Stewart on a 122.092. Behind him is Damon Hill in the Benetton 122.106. Damon Hill's improvement since switching to Benetton continues. I think I've messed up Shinji Nakano's lap there, but whatevs. I didn't get him to push in time, and half the lap was gone before he started pushing. But you never know, actually. He could still improve. It's still possible. And as long as we don't mess up his last round, as the Minardis make a first appearance, be interested to see where they fit into this fuck pie, because it's gone completely nuts. Let's see if Nakano improves. He does, but not enough to pip Marini in the Prost. That's bad news. Yeah, no Minardis have set a time yet, so car 18 is the one to watch. Pace seems all over the place here. Barrichello's out again, but no sign of Frentzen since his dreadful 141.310. It seems actually that the Ferraris and Jordans are interfering with each other a bit, although Jordan do have the upper hand, of course. Minardi, number 18, begins the fast lap there. I can only assume that Jordan is on an in-lap, but it is definitely impeding Barrichello. Obviously, for their sake, we can only hope they're on an in-lap themselves. We'll soon see. Yeah, the Jordan was on an in-lap. Okay, the main thing I'm watching for now is car 18 crossing the line. It seems that Prost found some speed here. I guess it's because the performance deficit they have is mitigated by the nature of the track, and it could be the same for Minardi, which is why I'm keen to see where they fit into the picture. Mika Salo crosses the line taking 12th, out-qualifying both Ferraris, both Saubers, both Tyrrells, and the Williams of Michael Schumacher. Only one Williams out so far. That's interesting as well. I didn't notice that. We still sit in 9th and 11th. The gap between us and Salo is a 10th, so, it's not an insurmountable mountain. Rubens Barrichello puts it on pole out of nowhere on a 121.363. That was a hell of a lap from him. Again, he'll be on the soft compound tyre. That's pretty much obvious at this stage. Both Stewarts are out again. Rosset seems to be the driver to watch. I make a lot of jokes at the expense of Ricardo Rosset in real life, but it seems in this particular round of Grand Prix World, he's had a hell of a season at Stewart, and he could be someone for us to keep an eye on, actually. He's a pay driver. I think he brings in sort of 4.3 million, so sort of Shinji Nakano money. But obviously, he's bringing more bang for that buck at the moment. Montemini is sadly lacking behind him. The track's a little bit too busy at the moment to get Diniz out again, but he is the next driver to go out. Let's see if anyone's improving here. Is that Rosset being held up there by Frentzen? I think it is. Oh no, he's down here. He's down between Schumacher and Alexander Wurz. But he is in traffic, so it's hard to read actually if he's going to feel any penalty from that. I think this is his fast lap though, so we'll soon see. I'm kind of rooting for him, to be honest. He does seem to be catching that Williams quite comfortably. If that was his fast lap, he didn't improve, that's for sure. The track is very busy. Did we refuel his car? Yes, we did. Okay, so with 25 minutes to go, pole position lies with car number 6, Rubens Barrichello in the Ferrari Ford, I think they are still. And the 121.363, David Coulthard lines up second for McLaren on a 121.465, ahead of Ricardo Rosset Stewart on a 122.092. He's very nearly in the 121s. He's coming through now, held up by Schumacher, and he has been held up, so if he improves, that's very impressive. Oh no, that was his in-lap, so no, he hasn't improved. Let's see what goes on with this Williams crossing line. Eddie Irvine puts it 17th. Williams still having a torrid season. Heinz-Harald Frentzen getting ready to hopefully correct his mistakes. Up to 14th. Still not a great lap from him in the mid 123s. I guess he could be on a hard compound tyre, actually. He could be. Who's leapt above us here? Oh, it was Rubens, wasn't it? So currently the grid is being propped up by both Tyrrells. I think we're coming up to a period where, in fact, yeah, there's a space for Diniz. We'll get him out straight away. Take a sip of our blue drink. Nice. I'm going to get him to push on his outlap. I know that's a little bit risky. However, what I really want is him to avoid being caught by Mika Häkkinen's Prost, first of all, which on paper is faster than us at the moment. And we want to make the most of this clean air we've got behind David Coulthard's McLaren. Hopefully Coulthard is on an in-lap and gets out of our way, and hopefully no one comes out of the pits. That would be the worst thing, actually, to get to the end of the start-finish straight, to have someone come out and completely fuck us on what is a reasonably important hot lap, actually, for Deniz. I think there's some speed in the car, but at the moment I wouldn't get my hopes up for anything above 8th. Yeah, we've got a Tyrrell come out right in front of us. Thanks for that, bastards. Who is that? Takagi. At least it's the faster Tyrrell, but he needs to get out of our way. We just got past him, but there's no doubt that his lap's been compromised there. What condition is the track in? Only 2 blocks of rubber down so far, so not great. I'm really not happy, actually, that Tyrrell got in the way of our clean air for almost the first 30% of a lap. If we improve, obviously it's a very good sign for the final run, but it's such a short run that it's very, very easy to be completely screwed. Yeah, we improved, but not enough. Not enough, and I'm blaming the Tyrrell for that. To the point that I'm actually going to screw up the laps of... I'm going to screw up that Tyrrell's lap now by telling Deniz to run slow. Meanwhile, for Nakano, I'm going to put him on a fresh set of tyres. So they've not been through the heat cycle. And I'm going to get him out now with 16 minutes to go. I think, why not at this point? Deniz, on the other hand, we will run very last minute. Hopefully, I mean, we are definitely now screwing up that Tyrrell as much as he screwed us up, which is good. But hopefully by running Deniz light at the very, very end on fresh tyres, we can discover a little bit of speed and get us up into 7th or 8th. I'm guessing 8th is probably the best we can hope for at the moment. Where's Nakano? Oh, he's coming round now, so I'll get him to start pushing. With no point screwing another lap from him. How are things looking down at the bottom? Esteban Tuero has a bad day at the office for Benetton. I didn't realise both Benettons hadn't been out yet, but he's on 14th. So the big losers really seem to be Williams, Sauber and Tyrrell, and Frentzen. I can only assume a split strategy there, because for those cars to be in the hands of fairly comparable drivers, to be 14 places apart is a sign of something. Nakano is getting a clean run at least, and he was pushing from lap's start, so I'll take him on this fresh rubber as a new benchmark. We don't know, obviously, if the heat cycled tyre is better than the fresh rubber. Fresh rubber does tend to, at least initially, be quite slippery. He does improve though. 122.341 puts him 10th. That's something. That is something to pin our hopes on, because that certainly puts Deniz within striking distance of 8th. I think we'll have to be happy with sort of a 9-10 or an 8-10 start, and hope that the longevity of our car on this particular compound of tyre comes to our aid, I suppose, and we move up through both attrition and from the latitude given to us by running a harder compound of rubber. I'm going to... Have we refueled Deniz? No, we have not. I'm going to put him on fresh rubber though, since it worked well for Nakano. And I'm going to put him out very, very soon. It's 3 blocks of rubber down. He needs 1 minute 22-ish to get round, so I'll probably put him out with about 5 minutes to spare. We don't want to be, we don't want to lose out. We've been moved down again. Who's let him? Oh, Tuero. Tuero finally came within striking distance of Hill, so he's redeemed himself at least. If Heinz-Harald Frentzen has not. That means there's no chance now of Nakano holding on to anything better than 11th, which is disappointing. The Jordans go out for their final run. I don't know who that is. It could be a Lacey, actually. Oh no, it was Foot. We'll let these two cars come through onto their hot lap, and out goes Mika Hakkinen and Prost. And we'll send Diniz out now. 7 minutes left to run. I'm going to have him run at normal speed, so I'm not sandbagging unnecessarily. Try and get some heat into the tyres rather than conserve them. Which usually when I tell them to ease off if they're on the hard compound tyre, it's simply to avoid an unnecessary accident. But particularly here, it doesn't do us any favours getting temperature in the tyre to play it cool. So I want him running normally, and I really hope no one comes out to mess with us. That would be incredibly annoying. Our aim now really is to out-qualify one of the Stewarts and one of the Prosts. Okay, time for him to push. That fucking Tyrrell has come out again. And yeah, we are in traffic. There's a Williams in front of us. I imagine that's Deniz's lap completely compromised. Yeah, we're in a train of cars. That is bad news. Yeah, because even if we get free of this this Williams, which we just have, we're going to be again in the dirty air of Teranosuke Takagi's Tyrrell, which is completely going to screw us. I mean, there's not really much we could do about it. Even if we went out now, it wouldn't necessarily be great. Let's just hope we get some improvement. No. Maybe there was an improvement, but the lap was badly compromised. At best, we're looking at 11th and 12th, so we've not even qualified in the top 10 here, which is not going to do us any favours with the sponsors as the rain begins to fall. So good job we didn't wait to run in the last 3 minutes. I think that pretty much settles the grid where it is then. So Rubens Barrichello takes pole for Ferrari on a 1:21.363, ahead of David Coulthard's McLaren on a 1:21.383. Ricardo Rosset takes third. Damon Hill's Benetton is on fourth. Fifth goes to Jean Lacy's Jordan. Sixth, Esteban Tuero's Benetton. Johnny Newhouse takes seventh for McLaren. The second Jordan of Alexander Wurz takes eighth. And great qualifying for Mika Hakkinen in the Prost for ninth. And the top 10 is rounded off by Andrea Montemini's Stewart on a 1:22.335. For the first time this season, I think, Shinji Nakano has outqualified Pedro Diniz. And the gap between them was tiny, completely minute. And I'm guessing he didn't do it on merit rather than through sheer luck. However, here endeth the qualifying. Thank you very much for joining me. I will see you for race day. I don't know when that will be, but take care.